Good day to you. This is Holy Week in the Catholic Church, a very special time when we know that we need the presence of Christ, and that especially as we approach Good Friday later this week, it's a good time to be centered on the cross of Christ, because we know that in great suffering and great love, our lives are transformed. And it is displayed so well in that scene of Christ hanging on the cross, a sign of suffering, a sign of love. I've had various crucifixes in my life over the years that have had great significance. And the first one I bring actually is this one, which was from Guatemala. When I was chaplain at Good Counsel Hill, they had missions in Guatemala and in Africa. So, as you know, I love to travel, and so I went to those places. And I have visited Guatemala a couple of times, and I love those people and the way that they have lived so well through suffering and pain in their lives. They lived through a time of great persecution back in the 70s and 80s. They had a huge earthquake, they've had mudslides, they're poor people. And yet their faith and what they believe about Christ is central to their lives. There's no doubt. And so this crucifix hangs in my office, and I remember that sign of great suffering and great love through the Guatemalan people. The other one, as I said, the sisters were in Kenya, Africa, and so I also went to Kenya and was given this cross by one of the missionaries. And as you can see, it's black, of course, made of ebony. And it hangs in my house. I love this crucifix because in the African people, I came to know in their simplicity, they don't have many of the things that we have. They have such a strong faith themselves. I went to Mass there. They would walk for 5 miles to get to Mass. It would take them all morning to get there. Mass was usually 2 or 3 hours long, and then they would sit and have a picnic for another 3 hours. Sunday was a great day, but they lived without much. They were happy and faith-filled. I went to Africa a number of times just to feel that goodness that was present in them, and this crucifix reminds me. And in 2002, I traveled to Rome, and as you may remember, Pope John Paul was the Pope at that time. He was suffering from Parkinson's, and so as you see in the picture, he was hardly able to walk at that time. And I was able to have a personal audience with him, which is a blessing in my life. And you see him holding this little brown case in his hand, giving me the crucifix, this rosary and this crucifix. And it's been a special thing for me that I was able to see the Pope and to be given this gift by his very hands, the hands of a saint, really. So then, you may recall in my 40th year of priesthood, I went to Rome again. Pope Francis was the Pope at that time, and I sent in a note to him saying, could I attend one of your daily masses? And his secretary wrote back and said, no, that's not possible, but he would like to give you this rosary as a gift for your 40 years of priesthood. And so one of the very special rosaries and also crucifixes that I own. And, especially these weeks now that we've been suffering under the virus pandemic, I've found myself, I usually take 20 minutes of contemplation in the day, in the morning, and I find myself holding these two crucifixes in my hands as I pray silently, because I believe that the suffering that Christ endured as a human reminds us of that we can do it. And we have our own suffering these days with all that's going on. But it is the power of Christ that gives us strength and hope, because he suffered on the cross, he submitted to that, and then was raised to new life. And so as we pray through Good Friday this week, may the power of the cross be with each of us. Maybe you have your own crucifix in a special way and place in your home, so pull it out and remember that gift of great love that God gave us in Jesus being crucified for us. Thank you.